right, so Kale took the jigsaw and cut the approximate size of the arm bow out of our big sheet of plywood. And we have 2 sheets here because we're both making a chair. And now that the seat is out of clamps and we have our plywood material cut to rough size, you may want to get your pattern and start tracing stuff out and cutting it out at the bandsaw, but do not do that yet. It is very important that we keep all the stock square for our drilling process. And for this chair, we're doing a technique called sandwich drilling, and it's a very simplified way to drill the holes for your sticks into the chair. So if you've seen people make stick chairs before, or you've made one yourself, you're probably familiar with riser jigs like this. So when you drill the holes for the sticks, you put this riser jig in here, you clamp your arm bow high up like this, and you drill through the whole way like that. We are not doing that in this. For this chair, it's very important we have no jigs involved. So with sandwich drilling, you actually stick the seat and the arm right together. So Kale and I are going to show you how to do that.
So I'm going to start tracing our patterns onto the seat. As I'm tracing, I'm making sure that I'm getting the center line. That's the inside of this half seat pattern that we have. The center line is super important. This is what is going to allow us to align the arm bow on top of our seat perfectly. And don't forget the mortises. I'm really darkening my center line so it's easy to see. Most importantly, I need to bring my center line over to the edge of my seat. So when my arm bow is on top, I'll still be able to see where my center line is. I'm going to do that with my combination square. With the seat finished, I'm going to do the same thing with the arm bow. When tracing the arm patterns, it can be easy to accidentally skew one inside or out and make your arms unparallel. To verify if your arms are parallel, all you have to do is measure the inside and make sure that there are 20 inches between each hand. So I have my arm traced. Just like with the seat, it's really important to drive in the center line all the way across the board and onto its edges. With all of our patterns traced, now let's get to sandwich drilling.
All right, and so I'm going to give you a quick overview of the sandwich drilling process. So we start with drilling the mortises for the long sticks, and then we do the mortises for the short sticks second. And so the way this goes is we have both our parts square right now. We're going to go 1/8 of an inch in on the arm, drill the long sticks. Then cut out the arm bow, take this 1 inch and 9/16 forward, drill the short sticks, and then dry fit. All right, so for the first drilling process for the long sticks, our plywood piece is going to be 1/8 of an inch further towards us. So I'm going to use my combination square set to 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to mark a line across on the seat blank. All right, so I'm going to spin this around so the curve is towards me on the part of the bench. I'm going to align this plywood to that line, and very importantly, we're going to line up our center lines. And before we get into the actual drilling process, the last thing we have to do is draw sight lines on our mortises. So these are all going to be perfectly perpendicular to this edge. Okay, so you can see I have all these sight lines on the long sticks going out a decent amount. It doesn't have to go the whole way. And so now we're gonna clamp this thing to the bench and get into the drilling process. So we have our 1/8 inch line. Our arm bow material is pushed 1/8 of an inch forward. We have all of our sight lines marked, and very importantly, our center lines are aligned. This is our underlayment scrap from before, and this is going to prevent tear out during the drilling process. So we're gonna put that underneath, and then we're gonna move this out so much that all the mortises are hanging off of the bench. I don't want to drill into Chris's bench. All right, so this is clamped up and we're ready to start drilling. So I have my bevel gauge here and I have it set 10 degrees off of 90. You can use a protractor for this, or you can just go straight to the pattern. The pattern has all the angles you'll need printed onto it. I have my spade bit here. This is an extra long spade bit, and these long ones are better for these drilling processes because it's easier to keep the correct angle lined up against your bevel gauge. Typically in stick chairs, the long sticks and the short sticks have through mortises on the bottom. We're not doing through mortises for this, so we're setting the depth at 2 inches from these 2 spurs right here, and this will make sure that we don't go all the way through the seat. So there's 2 guides we need to follow here. We're following the angle of our bevel gauge, and we're following the direction of our sight line. So let's do that. My bevel gauge just immediately starts flying. I'm gonna get a different bevel gauge.
Yeah.
Something about my bevel gauge is it's very, very lightweight. So we're gonna switch out because it was just trying to escape the premises and we don't need that right now. All right, 10 degrees off of 90. Okay, 1 down. I love this bevel gauge. I got it from my local antique mall, which I basically live at, and I want to keep using it, so I'm just going to tape it down. Okay guys, the chair is finished. Good job everyone. Okay, so I have all my holes drilled at that 10-degree angle for the long sticks, and now I'm gonna pop over to the bandsaw and cut out the shape of the arm. And you can also do this with a jigsaw. All right, so I got my arm bow cut out, and now we no longer have that rectangle flush surface to reference. So what we're gonna do is we're going to return to our original orientation by inserting 2 long sticks. And now we are back to our drilling orientation. And I'm just gonna make a tick mark on the arm and the seat here so I know where that is. And now from that tick mark, we're gonna move 1 inch and 9/16 back towards us.
While we're here and I have the arm in place with these 2 sticks, I'm going to draw a tick mark on the other arm as well, just to ensure that when we pull it back 1 inch and 9/16, it doesn't get out of whack.
Okay, so now it's time to drill the short sticks. These are gonna be dead vertical. I'm gonna use my combination square as a reference. You can use your bevel gauge set at 90 degrees, or you can grab a spotter to help make sure that you are drilling like straight vertical. But Kale and I have clamped this to the table. We have the underlayment underneath to make sure that we don't have any blowout, but I'm just gonna drill these short sticks through the arm and the seat, and that's all she wrote.
Now that we're done with our sandwich drilling, we can head to the bandsaw or use your jigsaw to cut out the seat shape. After we do that, then it's time to cut our sticks to length. Each 36-inch dowel is both a short stick and a long stick. All we have to do is cut 10.5 inches. The 10.5 inches will be your short stick, and the remainder of the stick will be your long stick.
What? Okay, so I'm a little bit disappointed that the bandsaw doesn't have the capacity to cut 10.5 inches, so I'm gonna be clamping these to my bench and sawing them down with my handsaw. It's really important to clamp down your work. It's very tempting to use your hand as a clamp. I've done it in the past, and I've gone to the hospital. That was a very long time ago, it was almost 10 years ago, but really don't use your hand as a clamp. It's a really good way to get injured, so we are gonna take the time, clamp this bad boy down, and cut these short sticks. Kale and I are taking the stickers off the dowels.
Sort of.